Welcome to Fantasy Fanline.
What is up, everybody? We are back for another episode of Fantasy Fanline. And if you call and ask me about that Giants game last night, you'll be instantly blocked and never allowed back on the show. Sinker, on a work trip in a hotel room. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey.
How you feeling? Oh, there we go. You're good.
Doing good, man. The show goes on. I'm down here in H-Town right now. So I don't know, man. A lot of talk of the Texans down here. I think we'll dive into that later in the show. But yeah, dude, doing good, man. Another tough week for a lot of my teams, but you just got to stay strong, man. Hope for the best here.
Yeah, I feel that. I think I went 7-5 in my leagues. Could always be worse, but you just want more and more. Without further ado, we're going to bring back an old friend of the show who's on last year. He's a dynasty fiend. He's a fantasy football junkie. And welcome back, George Cruz. George, what is up, man? How you doing?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. Great season so far. So happy to hop in and talk some fantasy with you guys.
Well, glad you're having a great season
for you. As an Eagles fan, must be nice.
Yeah.
Albert, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in again, bud. Always great to see you in the chat. But we got to remind you guys, this is a call-in show. Here's our phone number. If you want to call us up, hopefully the Marriott Hotel that Sinker's at can handle the calls. We won't know until we try. But let's get right into it. Has Joe Burrow gone from Joe Burr to Joe Burleyworth starting? Oh, man. It has been bad if you're a Joe Burrow owner in fantasy football. It has been very bad. He had that 1 week against Baltimore. That's still under what he was projected to do for a guy you took that early. For a guy who, you drafted his receiver in the top 3, Jamar Chase, thinking he'd go crazy this year. And he doesn't look healthy. I think the Bengals made the wrong choice. I think, it's easy to say that now, but they definitely made the wrong choice. He should have started the year on IR and missed 4 games. Just watching him play, 3.18 in the first game against Cleveland. Then the Baltimore game I talked about. 9.16 against the Rams in the game that they actually came through and won. And then just got absolutely smoked by the Titans last week for 3.70. The Titans. This is Joe Burrow. This guy was supposed to make a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl this year, but he's been hurt. I don't think it's a skill issue. I think it's the offensive line is pretty bad there right now, and he's definitely far from 100%. Moving forward, he's on the bench till I can see it. Luckily, I didn't draft him anywhere this year. I'm not dropping Joe Burrow. And if someone did in one of my leagues, I'm going to pick him up and have him sit on my bench because we know what Joe Burrow can do if he gets healthy. But, you can't play Joe Burrow unless you're desperate and there's no one you could play. Like, I'd pick probably 30 other starting quarterbacks to play right now. Like, it's crazy. But enough of me blabbing about what I would do. George, you're our guest. What's up with Joey Burrow?
He just doesn't look right. Another domino falls with T. Higgins with the broken ribs too. So we don't know if he's playing, if he does play, if he's even going to be out there full time. So now you add in some moving pieces. Titans were supposed to be the get right game, considering they've been bad against opposing QBs and wide receivers until they met Joe Burrow, and they just he stopped himself. I'm not going to say they stopped him, but he doesn't look good out there. They've got a week 7 bye, so I'm hoping they can go into that and come back week 8, and he's firing on all cylinders, hopefully. I mean, that's all you can really hope for at this point.
Yeah,
it doesn't look good. It's scary.
Yeah, a lot of people are definitely looking at that Arizona matchup and saying, all right, this is the get right game. But this is an Arizona team who beat Dallas, we considered Arizona the laughing stock of the league. And unfortunately, it's looking like that's my Giants, who somehow beat Arizona on a miracle comeback. But they look like the much better team than we thought they'd be. I don't think that's going to be an easy game. But as I said, he's riding the bench unless you're desperate. You better hope for a miracle. Sinker, how do you feel about Joey B?
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you have Burrow and you haven't already looked at the waiver of picking someone else, it's probably, about time to do that. I agree with George, where you're looking at, week 7 bye. I think, after that, you might look at maybe start putting him back in. He's clearly not healthy, right? I mean, that's the underlining thing here. We've seen Joe Burrow in the past, 2-3 years now. He can get going, and it just doesn't look right. So, I think, I mean, you can't start him. You don't feel good about starting him, and I just think there's honestly other options out there that would be a better start than him. So, we're going to talk about buy lows and sell high. I do think that I don't think Burrow is going to be like this the whole season. I think he is going to eventually get right. And he does have a pretty good schedule from week 12 to 16. So I don't know. If you drafted him, you probably drafted him a little too early than where you wanted to take a quarterback. So you're going to have to probably hold him on the bench. But I would look to the waiver wire to try to replace him. I'm not confidently starting him against Arizona and until after that bye. And then even after the bye, he's got San Francisco in week 9. Week 8. So I don't know. Not looking good for our boy Joey Burr.
I got to ask. In that Arizona game, you guys think Dobbs or Burrow? Who you playing?
Dude,
I've been thinking about this all day.
I mean,
it's crazy to say.
It's honestly, it's disgusting, but if I wouldn't, I don't
Dobbs
know.
has been good.
I'd probably go Dobbs because Dobbs, he has the rushing ability, right? So the last 3 games, he's averaging around 50 rushing yards. I mean, that's 5 points right there. Is Joe Burrow going to get 5 points? I mean, it's crazy to think about. It's fun. We're laughing, but it's realistically, look, for whatever reason, probably because I'm a Jamar Chase owner in multiple leagues, I watch all these Cincinnati games, and he's throwing uncatchable balls. It's not like he's getting schemed out, or it's not like Chase isn't open. And then, great point with the T. Higgins injury. He's not healthy. He's not right. So if you're starting Joe Burrow right next week, it's literally just because of the name, because you want to start Joe Burrow because of his name. He's not right. So
speaking of Chase, he was pissed off. If you saw that interview after, saying he's always effing open. He's like, I'm open. I'm always fucking open. He was pissed. And they're boys. I hope they get it right, man. I'm a big Burrow fan.
yeah.
Heal up, Joey B. Get it done towards the end. But for fantasy purposes, I think I'd go Dobbs this week too. How about this one?
Yeah.
This one's tough. Russell Wilson, who's been getting it done for fantasy against a stingy Jets defense, or Joey Burrow in Arizona. Sinker.
I like Russ, man. Honestly, there's Burrow. Even the game where he put up 16 points. What was that, week 2? Even in that game, he looked awful. And his guy was T. Higgins, who is no longer, he's not healthy. So there's nothing telling me right now to start Joe Burrow. And we're gonna say this all episode: don't start Joe Burrow, and then he's gonna throw for 5 touchdowns. So
you know how it goes. You know how it goes. Yeah. I mean, I'm playing Joe Burrow. I mean, Browns are on a bye, so I'm not going to use DTR or Watson as an example for this week. Russell Wilson is kind of where I draw the line because that matchup's really tough. I think I prefer Joe Burrow against the Cardinals over Russell Wilson against that tough Jets defense, but almost anyone else, man. Maybe I go Burrow over Mac Jones. But how about Zach Wilson against the Broncos or Joe Burrow? George.
Yeah.
Sorry to leave you with this one.
No, I'm going Burrow. It's an
Yeah.
easy decision for me. I can't get myself to do it with Zach Wilson. No way.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, the kid looked good. The kid looked good against the Chiefs, but most people who've watched Zach Wilson expect him to go out there and throw 3 picks. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Burrow's going at Arizona. At the end of the day, it's not exactly the scariest matchup. So I can't. I'm not starting Zach Wilson over pretty much anyone.
That's for deep super flex dynasty leagues. They worry about Zach Wilson, in my opinion. Tommy Donuts, Joe Burrow just wants to watch the world burn. And Sinker's internet is more reliable than Burrow. Damn. If you missed last week, we had some internet problems. Stream's a little chippy for me right now, but the show must go on. Any more questions about Joe Burrow or you want to vent? Feel free to call us up. But we're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna talk some players to trade for or possibly trade away. Who are some players that you're buying low on? Who are you selling high on? The one that comes out to me like right away is Jalen Waddle. I think a lot of Waddle owners are frustrated right now watching Miami score all these points and him not getting any involvement. But I said it either last week or the week before that as long as Tua is in there, this offense is gonna freaking click, man. And I want any piece I could get of that offense. And Jalen Waddle is definitely one I'm buying low on if the manager is frustrated. We'll pass it around. George, anyone who you buying low on? Start with that.
So this is depends on what your record is. If you're looking at 3-1, 4-0, I'm gonna go after the Breece Hall owner. He's probably a little frustrated.
I
You're
like
sitting
that.
in a good position later on in the season as he gets more and more removed from that ACL surgery. I think the kid's electric, and he'll take back all the work that he's ceded to Dalvin Cook, who just looks
cooked.
Yeah,
he's cooked.
I like the idea of buying a Cooper Kupp because this is the cheapest he's ever been. You don't have to sit on him for his injury, but it has a high re-injury rate, so be careful there. I like the idea of buying like Dallas Goedert. He's been garbage for my Eagles. He's been garbage, but I think at some point he'll bounce back. Also, what's nice about him, if AJ Brown or Devonta Smith, knock on wood, hope they never go down. If they go down, I think he becomes a monster and gets right back into that top 4 conversation. I mean, tight end landscape is a dumpster fire this year, so I think it's someone I would like to buy.
Yeah, for sure. Tight ends are really bad this year, but I love the Breece Hall take. He's not getting burned, but every time he touches the ball, he looks so freaking good. And just keep it in the back of your mind that Breece Hall had his big injury against the Broncos. And I'm sure in the back of his head he wants to get over that injury real quick when the Jets go to Denver this week. Just keep it in your back of your mind. I'm not saying he's going to have his huge breakout game just yet, but Breece Hall, whenever he touches that damn football, he looks amazing. Sinker has dropped the Marriott Hotel. It's you and me, George. Hold on.
One thing I like about Hall, while we get him back, his last couple of matchups come playoff time at Miami, nice and warm there. I think he'll really get going. Versus Washington, that defense doesn't really scare me. He's got a Week 14 game versus Houston, which is surprisingly good, but I still like it. Week 17 is a little rough at Cleveland.
But, Cleveland definitely has a good defense, but talent prevails, man. Breece Hall's so damn talented. And for some reason, this kid Wilson decides he wants to play like he did against the Chiefs. Ooh. That's going to open stuff up for Breece Hall, man. And I'm rooting for Zach Wilson, man. Go into Denver and beat that ass, Zach. Come on. Sinker, can't blame your internet this week because you're at the hotel. So, but anyone you buying low on?
Yeah, man. No other than one of my guys, Christian Watson, man. If you can go out and he did just score that touchdown. So I think the owner who's probably held him until this week he's probably not going to give him up for cheap. But I was trying to send out offers for him today, like, Zay Flowers, Damian Pierce, stuff like that, trying to get Christian Watson. I liked what I saw from him. I think he was on a snap count. But him and Love have connection. And if Watson's healthy, I think that red zone touchdown is a glimpse into what you're going to see moving forward. He looks good in the red zone. He's a my guy for many reasons. I named him at the beginning of the year. So Christian Watson's a guy I'm definitely going after. Josh Jacobs was a guy that I was targeting as a buy low. He went off this week, though. So I think that owner is probably not going to give him up for cheap. But Josh Jacobs is in a good spot again if you can try to get him. This was his first big breakout game last week. So if that owner is trying to sell high, maybe see if you can get something done with that guy, because I think Josh Jacobs is gonna rebound well and have a good rest of the season. I love that you talked about Cooper Kupp, because I think, honestly, I'm worried to say this, but I think Puka might be a sell high, and I think this might be the highest value you can sell Puka for.
Hard disagree.
That's fine, man, but I think, I don't think he's going to get the volume. If Cooper Kupp comes back, and we talked about this before, I understand that there's a world where Puka can still be fantasy relevant. But Cooper Kupp, if he's healthy and he's on the field, he's going to get 10 targets a game. So I don't know. I'm just saying it could be one of those things where this is the highest value of this season you're going to get for Puka.
Yeah, I could see Puka definitely going down with the production, but I could still see him being fire, man. I could remember Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp that one year. That's something I could see. I think if anyone's going to take a hit with Kupp coming back, it's going to be Tutu, personally. Like, there's no chance in hell. There's no chance in hell that they see what Puka's been doing to this team and just let him sit on the side. He's out there. Yeah, he won't get as many targets with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's that dude, but he's also coming off a big injury. Who knows if Cooper Kupp plays that he'll even get back to what he was. I'm not going to bet against Cooper Kupp. I love the guy. Hope to see him ball out again, but, you have to think of all the possibilities in fantasy football, and, not to disagree on me, but time will tell, and that's why we love this game, man, because so unpredictable, and it's great to have these takes.
For sure. And I think it goes back to the conversation we had about Puka, right? Where it's like Matthew Stafford loves to target, one guy. And I know that Robert Woods season and Woods was that guy, but he was always in the shadows of Cooper Kupp. So if it gets back to that, Puka, like I said, is still going to be good, but if you can get absolute crazy value for him right now, is there safer plays out there than Puka?
I'm taking CMC and Jefferson for sure, but I know
that's it.
Dude, this guy's had a historic 4 games, man.
So what about
historic?
What if you could get AJ Brown for Puka?
I would do it. I would take AJ Brown.
But
what about, it would hurt.
Let me see where you guys are at with this. So, what about Devontae Smith or Puka?
I'm taking Smith. I love Devontae Smith.
Yeah. I'm trying to see where the line is. Jalen Waddle or Puka?
Oh, I just said we buy low on Waddle. I'm taking Waddle.
I'm taking Waddle. There's a name that scares me, and he was an Eagle, so it's hard to forget Travis Fulgham. I'm just scared of the Puka getting Travis Fulgham. So I would take all these surefire things here. The names you're mentioning. Yeah, I mean, worst case, you've got a high wide receiver one for a guy that you didn't drafted super late, drafted in the 4th, 5th round of rookie drafts, maybe 3rd round if you were really high on him. But even so,
how about DK Metcalf, a guy who I like? I'm not taking DK, man. Puka. And I like DK.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those I wouldn't do either side. I love DK. He's a monster. He's just physically chiseled perfection. but Puka's just been killing it, and we've never really seen Metcalf do this. So I just feel like it's a different level of upside that Puka's displaying.
It's like every week, man. Yeah. Every week we think he'll slow down.
And he's not even scoring touchdowns. I mean, just
that was his first one, game winner.
Huh.
Yeah.
He saw 10 targets, caught 9 of them, had 163 yards, and a game-winning tutty 8.11 yards per catch. Just
Madden
unreal.
numbers.
His targets have been 15, 20, a low 7 targets on a 96% snap count, and then back to 10. He's been all over the field. He's been Stafford's safety blanket. I know Kupp has that role, but we already talked about that. I can't. Having this guy in my lineup and seeing these points, I just can't trade that away. You better be giving me the hall of all halls for Puka right now. He's better pry him out of my dead hands, as they say.
Well,
I think
Puka Nakua.
got Anthony, aka Rasta, in the chat. How's it going, fellas? We're gonna have him on soon. Can't wait for that episode. He ran a great mock draft tourney this offseason on his channel. We're definitely going to plug that when he's on, so stick around for that one. Thanks for tuning in, Rasta. Sinker, I'm sorry to cut you off. You're going to say something? Finish
I
up
don't
the
know.
Puka talk?
The Marriott internet cut out, so I just kind of gave it up. Maybe that's a
Yeah,
sign I need to not tell everyone to sell high on Puka.
All right, man. I just couldn't. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Anyone you're selling high on, George? We already go over that.
I'm getting out on Derrick Henry. This is specifically
I agree.
dynasty, I guess. I'm portfolio player, so a lot of my thinking comes to dynasty first. But I'm getting out of Henry. He's a little bit older, just went off. I know he's not human, but now's the time you can really get a good haul back. If you're holding on to Khalil Herbert, now's a good time after his big game.
Yeah, I was
Romeo
gonna say
Dobbs.
Fields. Does Fields count as a sell high, man? After his monster against Denver?
I don't know. I feel like in Superflex is the only place you can really even sell him, and people know what's up with him. That you're trying to sell him now that he's gotten out, but if you get lucky, I would definitely explore that option and try to sell him. I'm getting
Not
out
everyone.
of there.
Not everyone who watches are hardcore like us. There might be someone who sees what he did last game and tries to chase that high. So if you can get a nice haul for Justin Fields, I personally would. I did start him last week. I felt good about it, but then I saw who he was playing, and I'm very nervous once again about playing him moving forward. But I'm sorry to cut you off, George. Anyone else you mentioned that you'd sell high on?
Romeo Dobbs. Christian Watson's back. Jaden Reed is getting better week by week, and this kid's soaking up all these targets. I think that you can really sell someone on him and get out of there and get a really nice return back. Don't just sell him for whatever you can get. He's looked decent.
He's looked good, man. He looked like Love's guy. 13 targets. Went from 5 targets week 1, then back to 3. But then all of a sudden, 86% share the snaps, 12 targets, and then 88% snap share, 13 targets. He's looked good, but I can definitely see it with Watson. Yeah, Love's got we're expecting Love to come down to earth a little, right? He still got it done, 20-something points and garbage time chasing Detroit last week, but he can't feed all these guys for fantasy points. If you're a believer in Watson and you think Watson's going to be what we call them out to be, I could see you trading Romeo Dobbs, but I like the guy. I have him stashed on a few benches. I didn't even shop him at all. I just want to kind of wait and see with him, but I'm not mad at you. Not mad at you if you're trying to dish him. Sinker, anyone that you're particularly selling high on?
I mean, just that we talked about Puka for a little bit.
Besides Puka, because that's wrong.
Yeah, no. So I think so. Zach M in the chat's talking about Roshan, which I think is a good, talking track here. Khalil Herbert had his best game last week. That's probably a guy I might try to sell high to see if someone is desperately needing a running back, try to get rid of him. And to what you asked, Zach, what about Roshan? I think he's a hold, man. I still think he's the best pass blocker on the team. I think he has the most potential moving forward. So Herbert had one game. I don't think that's going to, hold up for the rest of the season. If you can get a desperate running back owner, try to get rid of him and see what you can get for him.
Yeah. If there's anyone we had on at the perfect week to talk about Roshan Johnson, it would be Mr. George Cruz. George, I know you love this guy. I see you take. It's like I watched you take
Beast.
him in multiple dynasty rookie drafts. What about Roshan Johnson, George? Go off, King.
He went to Texas as a quarterback. All right. So you know that he can command the locker room. People love him. People just build around him. So I just think he's a great personality, first and foremost, which is always huge in the NFL. That outside chance that maybe one day he takes some QB snaps if things really go south.
Some QB
But I just
snaps.
love him. I love Roshan Johnson. I think he's a great pass blocker. He can catch, run. I really think he's going to take over sooner than later. Fun fact, he's my highest owned player in my entire portfolio of a lot of leagues.
Huh?
Yeah. I've got him over 30% ownership, and it's a lot of leagues. So
What's
I
that
love
number at
Roshan.
these days on leagues, George? Still in the 20s?
84.
84.
About, what is it? 9 of them are best ball dynasties. And then 3 of them are just redraft tournament play best ball. And then the rest are just dynasty. Oh, wait, sorry. I've got 3 redrafts, and then the rest are just dynasty.
You got Chat GPT doing waivers for you, or what, man?
So I do target a specific type of league where I like deeper benches.
Yeah.
So my dynasty leagues with lesser benches, I keep them towards the top of my sleeper.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I really have to comb through. I'll know a lot of guys' ownership percentages and availabilities in leagues, so I don't have to comb through too much. But yeah, I've got someone working on on something that'll pull all my rosters for me out of sleeper. I have some websites that give me like the ownership percentages and things like that, but once I get that done and it pulls it out for me, it'll make it a lot easier.
84 madness. Yeah, it's absolutely sickening, but you fit right in here. Just when I thought I was sick. You have to
It's not for
outdo us.
everyone. It's a different way of thinking and looking at fantasy. I'll say that much. I've got my
hardcore,
leagues
man.
that I love way more.
Of course.
Yeah.
League, our dynasty leagues, the home ones really mean a lot to me. I've got leagues with randoms that I've met on Sleeper and really made some great relationships with people on Sleeper, honestly. But
Same here.
the home leagues
Shout out
always take
Sleeper.
precedent.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Well, good luck. I'm sure you'll be up till 5 a.m. doing your waivers tonight. I feel like we talk about this guy every week, but we have to. Are we benching Gibbs until further notice? It has not been good for myself and all other fellow Gibbs drafters. As you know, David Montgomery is that dude. Scored 3 touchdowns last week. Looks amazing out there. Even after the injury, thought he'd be on a snap count. Wasn't the case. Went off. And P-Mugs, if you're listening, I completely apologize for saying Addison over Montgomery last week. I am human. I make mistakes. And if that costs you your matchup, I feel horrible about it. But I'm owning up to that one. I thought about it. As soon as he had this 3rd touchdown, I'm like, yeah, Addison's going to have a crappy game. And he goose-egged you. And that's just how the cookie crumbles in fantasy football sometimes. We got Rasta saying, I thought I was a degenerate with 16 leagues this year, up 10 from last year. 70 best ball redraft teams, but that's just best ball. We can't get enough. Before we know it, it'll be over. It'll be the Super Bowl. So, we do this for a reason. We love it so much. I say every year I'm going to cut back. Yeah, maybe. But back to Gibbs, man. In PPR, his floor isn't horrible. Like, he's giving you a safe floor with like 9 points, 10 points, whatever. But for where you drafted him, that just like hurts to see every week, man. So the floor is there. I'm not necessarily saying he's a must bench, but if you got like Kamara back or you have guys like Pacheco on your bench or Pierce, yeah, I'd put those guys in and wait and see what Gibbs. But not everyone in a hardcore league has that luxury. So you kind of just have to eat that floor. And hopefully you're still winning with that floor because, I am in some leagues. Some leagues he's been killing me, but some leagues my other players get it done, and I'm still winning with his floor. And the one week you bench him is the week he goes crazy. we all know how that goes. So I'm still saying we got to be patient with him. Talent, prevails in the end. It sucks. It sucks to see this guy drafted 12th overall and only getting these kinds of points when we thought he would just be so electric. But Carolina's a great matchup. It's a matchup that Detroit can be up. Maybe they want to rest Montgomery if they're up big. I don't know. He's in my lineups, but I'm not mad at you if you're benching him. Sinker, I know you have some Gibbs stock. I'll let you take over right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think the process with Gibbs was completely wrong. I think he is still an electric player. I think his yards after contact is there, so he's checking a lot of boxes of what you want. The biggest thing is just obviously volume, and I think that has a lot to do with game script. I think what the Lions are doing is they've done it from week 1 against the Chiefs, is they're getting a lead and then they're just trying to play grind ball with Montgomery. So they're trying to burn clock, and no one can stop Montgomery when they're doing that. Montgomery doesn't necessarily look great. He's just able to pick up chunk, 3-4 yards. And then that's what the Lions want to do. So I think you need to, look at the schedule. Carolina, I think I can see the Lions getting up again, and I can see Montgomery just running out clock again. So I would look more at the Baltimore game coming up. Maybe the Tampa game will be a little bit closer. I think games that are close where the Lions aren't leading or maybe where they're trailing, those are the games where Gibbs, hopefully can get those 10 targets out of the backfield or play catch-up ball. So unfortunately, that's kind of where I'm at with him. A lot of leagues that I have him in, I can't bench him. I don't really have much depth on the bench. If I took Gibbs in the third, I was trying to load up on wide receiver. So I'm starting him. I'm not super confident with him, and hopefully as the season goes on, he gets more opportunities. Would love for him to just get some of the red zone opportunities. I mean, Montgomery getting all of the red zone work is literally what's killing Gibbs. If he was scoring touchdowns, he would be all right. He wouldn't be a league winner, but he'd be all right.
I don't think that's going to change, unfortunately. I kind of disagree, and I think Monty he looks pretty damn good to me. I hate to say it because I took Gibbs. I have Monty shares as well. Got him for way cheaper. Feeling way better about that. But he looks good, man. He found the new home in Detroit. Once you get out of that Chicago locker room, the best in you comes out, apparently. It's a crazy situation, but I'm with you, man. There's not many leagues I have Jahmyr Gibbs in. I play with some sharps, as you know. And you just can't bench him. You can't bench a talented player like that unless you're blessed to have, you had Achane just on your bench chilling, someone like that. Then bench Gibbs and play Achane the way he's playing right now. But really, all comes down to your league. Our fingers are crossed here at Fantasy Fanline for Jahmyr Gibbs. And our first episode back after his breakout game, we're gonna be drinking. We're gonna be partying. That's a guarantee. George, I didn't see you draft Gibbs in any leagues because all the leagues we're in together, I took him like an idiot. But how you feel about him? The player?
So he wasn't
future?
He wasn't one of my redraft targets because he is a receiving back and they had Monty. Although I foolishly called Monty a jag in a conversation between you and I figured you'd bring that up, but I was wrong. Monty looks great. He's a good between the tackles guy, but back to Gibbs. My thing with him is he's more of I wish they'd play him in the Debo role where they really get him moving around everywhere. The only thing is playing wide receiver in the NFL is a lot more nuanced than just going out there and doing what you were doing, being the best athlete at Alabama, playing against lesser talent. So it just takes a little bit longer for a guy like this to really get acclimated in the league and really get used to his full potential because he's doing a lot more than just taking the ball and saying, hey, man, see those 5 guys in front of you, wherever there's space, run. No, he has to go, he has to figure out what to do if the QB gets rushed this way, QB gets rushed that way, if the play breaks apart this way, if space is over there. So I think it's just a bit of a learning curve for someone like him. I'd really look for week 10 on breakout. He has his week 9 bye. So we didn't really mention him as a buy low, but I would love to buy low. Again, if you're one of those 4-0, 3-1 teams, I think that he'll do better at the end of the season. And then Monty has an injury history too, so he's a premier handcuff too. But that's not what you want to hear out of your third round pick or your second round pick. But I think that's the deal with Gibbs. He's going to be a little bit later in the season of a breakout just because of the nature of the way he plays and the way they envision using him. So once that really gets going, I think that his floor for targets will be around 6 to 8 a game, which will really look beautiful in PPR. Add in anywhere from 5 to 10 carries, and that's a really solid player for you.
Yeah, he's already had a game with 9 targets and 7 catches. They need to do that more. I know Detroit's winning games. They don't care about our fantasy leagues, but we want that. Please, Dan Campbell. We have a great sit-start question from Brandon Hall. This is a really good one. I see your second question too, Brandon. We'll get to that a little bit later. But Trevor Lawrence or Anthony Richardson this week, who gets the start? And I'm a Trevor Lawrence truther. He was my guy. I absolutely hate what I'm seeing. It's Anthony Richardson for me, man. Until Lawrence gets right, until you see it happen, like in Buffalo. I know it's a high over under, but that defense even gave Tua. They scored 20 points. The running backs did, Achane did good, but even Tua had a bad game, and this guy's been going crazy. But Buffalo is not a matchup I want to put my trust into Lawrence. Richardson gets it done with his legs. He had a great week last week. He's only going to get better. He's going to do to Tennessee what we wish Joe Burrow did, in my opinion. It's Anthony Richardson for me. You guys agree? Sinker?
Yeah, no question there. Anthony Richardson, easily.
George?
Richardson easily for me, and even if he's not throwing well, looked like last week, that rushing floor is just incredible.
Yeah, kid looks legit for fantasy football, man. A lot of people call it the breakout. A lot of people look like they're gonna hit that breakout. We got Rasta saying he traded Jerome Ford for Montgomery right before the game to his co-host. That's cold.
What? That's a great. That's a great timing trade too, because Gibbs or Monty coming back from injury. Everyone probably thought he wasn't going to do anything. Ford coming off big games. That's a great trade, Rasta.
Also, you get away from Ford's buyer this week too, so you double up with Monty on that.
Another week of production against Carolina. Montgomery should be in your lineups until further notice. P-Mugs, don't bench Montgomery again, please. Let's talk about two young receivers that are crushing it. Nico Collins or Tank Dell rest of the season, and I'd be happy with either one of these guys on my team. But I want Nico Collins. If I had to pick out of both these guys, more experience in the league, higher snap percentage on the fields, more targets so far, just absolute monster game against the Steelers. Monster game. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 168 yards, and 2 scores. Yeah, give me the guy who did that most recently. I know Tank Dell had some, a 20-point game, 25.5-point game, but I'm cool with having either one of these guys. Stroud to the moon right now. You're a Houston Texans fan for whatever reason. Congratulations. You finally got your guy. Might have broke the Ohio State QB's curse. I love to see that, and I love watching this kid Stroud play. But for me, I prefer Nico Collins, but you're not cutting any of these guys. And, Tank Dell, he's a flex play with all these bye weeks, of course.
Yeah.
He had 2 monster weeks. I know you can't be upset over that one bad game against Pittsburgh. It was a Nico game. But these guys are both going to have their games, I think, as long as Stroud keeps playing at a high level. Sinker, I remember you were into on Nico Collins like earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Who do you prefer here?
Yeah, I think it's Nico Collins. I think, he fits the frame in what I talked about him in the preseason. He is, he has the frame for the alpha role there, and that's what you're kind of seeing. I think Tank Dell's still a very talented player. He's more of a shifty type guy. Can still stretch the field as well. So, it's pretty close on these two. I think Nico Collins rest of season above Tank Dell, but yeah, both of these guys are dudes I'm trying to get on my team and get in my lineup. Tank Dell was a waiver wire guy that we mentioned, I think week 2. So if you were able to pull him, you're pretty excited about that. But I like both of them moving forward. Nico just slightly above Tank Dell, but yeah, I like both of them.
For sure. George, agree with that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Nico's got the proper alpha size to really get up and win outside. The other thing is, I think he's really got more touchdown equity, so that opens up a higher ceiling for you. Which I'm the type to shoot ceiling, not floor. But I love Dell. He's electric. He's fun to watch, and he's an exciting player to just go out there and root for. Root for the small guy, not the.
And you could
proper
yell, dude, you're getting Adele at your TV whenever he scores. But yeah, the Texans to the moon. Let's talk about the guy dishing them the ball. We have a sit start question. Justin Fields, with after his huge big game against Denver, or CJ Stroud this week. On paper it seems tough, but I think it's easy. I think you're going CJ Stroud. I talked about, selling Fields high because he played the Broncos. I'm not saying Fields is going to flop. Like, even with his bad games, he still was getting you like 16 points. He hasn't been Joe Burrowing you, right? He had a Thursday night game against Washington, in Washington. I hate Thursday night games. I absolutely hate starting players in Thursday night unless they're my studs. Yeah, I'm going CJ Stroud here. At Atlanta, another like trickier matchup, I guess. At Washington, at Atlanta, like they're not amazing, but they're not going to kill you. But you just have to stay in the flames with the rookie, I think, until he burns you. Justin Fields gave you that one monster week against Denver, and it might just be because it was against Denver, and that's what a lot of intelligent fantasy players are thinking right now. If he goes out against Washington, crushes it again, congratulations. Good thing you didn't drop him like some people did. I told you to hold him on the bench. Don't drop Justin Fields just yet. But for this particular matchup, I lean CJ Stroud. I'm staying in the flames with the guy who's been getting it done every week at this point. George, who do you pick in this one?
You kind of touched on it. Thursday games, I can't do it. I can't. I feel like it's just snooze fest after snooze fest on Thursdays. To make matters worse, Washington just went against Philly, and don't hear what I'm not saying. Fields is no Jalen Hurts by any stretch of the imagination, but they've been preparing for a rushing quarterback for 2 weeks now. So add that in. I don't really, I think that they can really hone that in. So give me Stroud easily. He's been a QB1 the last couple of weeks, and I don't see him slowing down. I like it.
Well, to Fields' defense, he did get it done. We said it's Denver, but he did get it done with his arm. He only rushed 4 times for 25 yards. And four rushes for Fields is nothing compared to what we were used to seeing him do. He had 11 and 9 out of 4 games so far. But, yeah, I don't think he's going to get it done with his arm in Washington like he did at home against Denver. And they still found a way to blow it. Caleb Williams, are you a Bear or are my Giants going to out-tank you at this point? I don't know. That's for a whole other discussion. Message me on Twitter. We can talk about it if you want. But that's 2 votes for Stroud. Fields, Sinker, Fields or Stroud?
Yeah, I was just looking at the over-under for the Thursday night game and the Bears spread and what the applied team total is. And the Bears total is 17 points is what Vegas is predicting them to score on Thursday night.
That's right.
That doesn't sound good at all to me. So can you hear me or am I cutting out?
Cutting out a little, but definitely heard the 17-point team total. So the point is across there.
Yeah, Vegas just has the Bears with 17 points on Thursday. So, I mean, just going off of where, the money is and where Vegas is, I'm probably avoiding Fields and going to CJ Stroud. So I'll agree with you guys on that one.
Yeah, and Vegas has Houston at 20.5. It's a lot more points. We like to look at Vegas. We don't make all our decisions by going on FanDuel, but we like to use it, the odds to our advantage sometimes. And we'll take the higher over under and the higher team total, and because the house always wins. We all know that. That's a clean sweep for CJ Stroud. Do not drop Justin Fields just yet. I saw people drop him, and then he went off against Denver. Hold Justin Fields for now. But if you have C.J. Stroud in the Fields, we're rocking with Stroud. We got some Broncos running back questions. P. Ryan or McLaughlin or no Denver Broncos? I prefer to go no Denver Broncos, man. I know Javante's hurt again, unfortunately. Jaleel McLaughlin, though, like, it's a joke because I'm tanking in one of my dynasty leagues. And every time this dude has a huge play, I'd go in the chat and like, go Jaleel, like, get Jaleel. So, I like the kid. He's looked all right. Am I confident in starting any Broncos running back right now? Absolutely not. I would try to pivot. I would try to stay away. But, yeah, stay in the flames with Jaleel if you have to. For me, we'll keep this one short and sweet. Sinker, how do you feel about the Broncos backfield without Pookie Williams?
Yeah, I don't know because Pacheco, looks pretty good. So I don't know. If you don't have anything else available, I'm probably maybe playing one of them, but
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit, but the point is heard. Only if you're desperate to play a Denver Broncos running back, man. George, do you have anything to add to this, or should we just keep it pushing?
I would easily choose McLaughlin. P. Ryan doesn't really add any upside in my eyes. His best case scenario is not very inspiring, and if you're relying on these guys, it's not looking good anyway. But McLaughlin, at least it's some unknown, smaller guy, so I would take a swing at the unknown because P. Ryan is just the guy. Honestly, it doesn't.
I'm with you there, man. No need to keep going on this Broncos backfield. While Sinker loads in, damn you Marriott hotels. He's back. He's on a completely different stream, but he's back. It doesn't matter. We're killing it. It's been a great show so far, George. George is coming back with us later in the year, and we can't wait for that. But we'll keep firing these chats. Got Justin Herbert on a bye. Would you feel okay rolling Sam Howell against Chicago? I would. I will play any quarterback that plays the Bears. I don't care if it's Daniel Jones after last night. I don't want to talk about his name anymore, but even if that was him, even if the Giants played the Bears, yeah, I'm rolling my quarterback out. I'm feeling confident about also have Dotson for the stack. Well, Dotson's a guy who definitely disappointed so far, but if there's any game he's going to get it right and that stack's going to hit for you, it's against that lousy Broncos defense. So, yeah, I think I could speak for all of us that we would feel confident rolling Howell against that crappy Bears team. You have Justin Herbert. It's a 1 week thing. Play the guy against the Bears. Hope for the best, and hopefully you get the dub, man. But George, your expertise is needed. Got a dynasty question. Another not necessarily buy low, sell high, but this guy's a fringe contender in his dynasty league. Are there any players I should buy to help with my push? And he's not looking to move any first round picks, so like mid-tier players.
This is
how about Adam Thielen, man?
Ooh, yes.
It doesn't sound right to say that. It sounds like it'll backfire any moment. Love all the get right references. Welcome to Fantasy Fanline. Get right is used more than any other words on the damn planet. But back to Dynasty. Thielen. What about Michael Thomas, who I crapped on all offseason and then gave him an apology? Can he help you win a league? I think I'd rather have Thielen the way he's playing. Those guys, you talk about trading your picks for them and you just cringe on the inside. But, you're the Dynasty guy. I know we all love Dynasty here, but apparently you should get it tattooed on your knuckles with all the leagues you're in. Talk to us about who would you buy making a push at a championship?
So there's two ways to answer this question. I'm going to give you a few names first. If you need QBs, if this is super flex, you can get these guys real cheap. Dobbs, mentioned them before. Kirk Cousins, I feel like he never inspires anyone, but he's always solid. Matthew Stafford is quietly having a decent year. So those are my guys. I just recently bought Stafford actually for
With Cup coming back too. I mean,
yeah,
check your waivers for Stafford.
for sure. For some running backs, I was thinking
Well, not in
Shoot us.
Dynasty. Sorry, he's not on your Dynasty waivers. Go on, Joe.
This guy's taking over the backfield quietly in Carolina, Chuba Hubbard. I think you can buy him before he finishes taking that over. I kind of like Jerome Ford. I think that he has some staying power in Cleveland after his last stinker of a game. I think he should come cheap for you.
Especially if you're a Nick Chubb owner, right? You'd probably want to go out and try to get Ford.
For sure. I mean, Chubb's cooked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, career's probably over. I hope not. I hope he comes back and has a solid year or two, but not looking great. But not to get off topic. Go on.
For wide receivers, Mike Evans. He's an older guy who's just hit the fountain of youth this year. I don't know how cheap he'll be though. That's another conversation.
He's having an MRI right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown is everyone hates him, but he is producing. He looks good out there. Joshua Dobbs has really surprised people. Tyler Lockett's not having a great year, so you can probably buy him on the cheap and expect a bit of a bounce back there for them, especially as they they move forward after this bye. Tight end. Honestly, don't buy anyone. I don't think you should buy a tight end. I think you should just look for one-off waivers. But if you're really pressing to buy one, Zach Ertz should be practically free. For a lot of people, he's looked decent out there. Darren Waller, I mean, is this rock bottom?
Talk about it.
Yeah,
I just the plays can't even develop. Our offensive line is a bunch of traffic cones, but I don't want to get into it.
Outside of all these names, I'd really answer this question with my process. My process isn't to find any players like I just mentioned. My process is to go through the rankings, see who's 0-4, see who's 1-3, see who's 2-2 and hasn't scored many points and just gotten lucky, and target their teams, and see what older players are on their team scoring points for them, and send them thirds, send them a second, send them a young piece like Quentin Johnston has some buying power out there. You could sell him if he's on your roster. But I really target those teams, and I try to pluck off anybody on their rosters like Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, anybody that's 27 plus that can help you compete this year, especially as a fringe team. If you buy it from those tanking teams, they'll come out cheap for you, and that's really the process and the way to get yourself from that borderline tier to getting up with the real contenders.
That's great stuff, man. Some of the best dynasty advice we've ever had on the show, thus far. So, thank you for sharing your process and what goes to your sick, twisted 85 league mastermind brain. But that's great stuff, man. Only on Fantasy Fanline, baby. No, I'm just kidding. But Sinker, another dynasty junkie himself. Anyone coming out at you, sticking out to you that you're buying? If you're a fringe contender, not too sure you're gonna win.
Yeah, I mean George just went through a list of like 20 players right there. So I will say he covered all the names that I had wrote down. Honestly, I don't know what people are valuing Isaiah Pacheco at right now. I'm in Kansas City, so any league that I'm in, his value is a lot higher. But I do think that he is, you saw a little bit of what he's capable of last game, and I think they're going to have to rely on the run more moving forward, just because of our wide receiver core. So I think if you could get a second for him, I don't think he's going to be a long-term play in Kansas City. But I think for this year, a second would be, pretty good value if you could get that for him. I'm curious, where you're at, George, with Derrick Henry. I think, if you could get a second for Derrick Henry, I think that's good value. I know earlier you were talking about selling him if you could, so just wondering if you're kind of on the same, trajectory where I'm at with the second on him.
I would, if I'm really tanking or looking to get my team bottomed out, I would take a second. I'd really like to sell him to a contender for a first, though.
Yeah.
Just to maximize your value on the name value. But if you're like just in one of those really sharp leagues or one of those leagues where there's not a lot of movement and the second is truly the best that you can get, I'll take that. I nickel and dime people. I'm not gonna lie. I would shoot
You
to.
are stingy.
Well, you got 85 leagues, man. You don't. There's no reason for you to sell.
You got
I
every
would ask
player.
for a fourth
Yeah.
or something on top just to add that little bit of value. And I use those fourths, those thirds to leverage me back into the second, into the first. So
Yeah.
I would try to get a little bit more than that second. I don't love it, but if push came to shove, like I'm taking that. Get him off my roster. He's old. The Titans look terrible. I expect a change of scenery. Guys that age don't really change scenes and do better than they were doing before. I hate to say it, this is, and then the Venero with a guy like him, but at age, Father Time is undefeated, so
For sure.
So you think
Sorry.
Sanch, we'll let you go. Just one quick question. Do you think that what about Tajay Spears though? Would you give up a sec? Would you give a second to try to get him? Do you think he's going to have second half value? Just around that same conversation. And then Sanch, you can go. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I like to use my seconds to really get me somebody that can push me over the edge. And I don't buy running backs in teams that I'm not contending. So it's like it's a difficult thing for me to do for a player that's not giving me an immediate return. The way Dynasty is today, it's a lot less forward thinking and more what can you do for me today. So I probably wouldn't use my second to get a guy like that, but I couldn't fault anyone for it. I think Henry is, like I keep saying, he's 29. He can get hurt at any moment. So a purchase like that can be, really forward thinking and really help you. He could be a league winner easily, I think.
That's great stuff. That's why we pay you the big bucks. By big bucks, I mean a $10 gift card to your choice of Chipotle or Starbucks. But anyway, we got a few more questions coming in. We got our boy Eeps. He's got a couple 0-4 teams in redraft, injury, bad picks. That takes a man to admit that he made a mistake. I do it as well, and we just trust the process. We move forward. But how do you attempt to right the ship? Well, patience is everything. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You could go 0-6 and still make a playoff push. Just because they're bad picks now doesn't mean they're bad picks the whole year. But you got to make some trades. You got to try to make some trades at this point. And you have to benefit off that trade. You have to get the better end, in my opinion. Or else it's on you to pick the right matchups every week. Hopefully get lucky against your opponents. Hopefully you're up against some guys who has their 3 studs on a bye, because their bye weeks are starting now. So things are going to get more interesting in the fantasy world. But, trust the process, make some trades that benefit you, if you can. But if not, just stay patient, play the right guys, and hope for a little bit of luck. So we always talk how this is like 85, 90% luck. We can do all the research we want, but that these guys got to go out there and play. So, 0-6, come chat with us. We'll tell you to clean house and start saying some prayers. But until then, that's the only advice I got for you on the 0-4. You want to add anything to that, Sinker?
I think just reevaluating your team and looking at it and saying, does this team not have the potential to start winning games? So it's like, are you looking at did you draft guys like Jalen Waddle who, they're not performing yet, but it's in the range of outcomes that they're going to get going eventually? Or do you have guys, did you draft like Kyle Pitts, where if you're in a situation like that, you're probably going to be panicking a little bit more. So just taking, an approach to your roster and looking at it and saying, hey, I do have the right guys. I think these guys will get going, and it's just a case of bad luck. Or realizing like, hey, I messed up and I didn't draft the right guys. And in that case, yeah, I agree with Sanch. Start looking at trying to make some trades and move in something, but you're going to have to take some risks on those trades, because if you're 0-4, obviously some of your guys aren't performing, so you're selling probably at the absolute bottom. So you're going to have to be trying to find guys who can break out in the second half.
Yeah, and another guy I forgot to mention on like the buy nows, just had his best game of the year. Chris Godwin, guy I always liked, guy who started off kind of slow, started hitting some benches, wasn't producing like people thought he would. Evans seems to be Baker Mayfield's guy. Now Mike Evans had an MRI today, and speaking of people with injury histories, Mike Evans, well, they both technically have injury histories, but Chris Godwin's just another name I'll mention on the buy lows if you're trying to compete. Maybe someone's frustrated. I would take Chris Godwin now. I think he's gonna have a good rest of the season personally. But back to Eve's question, George, anything you want to add to what we said, or?
You got to start moving on from these guys that aren't producing, even if you're taking a hit on the name value. Just remove all the names, look at the numbers is my first suggestion. And if you've really got time, start looking at who you play in week 6 versus the guys that are on bye and sell them those players and keep doing that week to week. Try to get a week ahead of it every week. You've really got to be grinding here if you really want to win. That's one of my recommendations. A little cheap back end way I used to get my teams right back in the day when I was really, really focused on redraft. So it's tough, man. 0-4 is a rough spot, so you have to start treating it like daily fantasy and really pushing to seeing what can get you the most points. Cheat code for those of you out there, you can always look at your DraftKings, your FanDuel, and see what those DraftKings prices are and make trades to weekly that give you a higher salary on your players. So that'll give you a better way of.
Yeah, it's similar to just going on FanDuel and looking at the team totals, the player stats, where the juice is. You got to take all that. That's next level stuff, but that's what we do here. We go to that next level, and we got a few more. This was the last second Instagram question from Juice. Kamara or Pierce in PPR? CMC is my RB1. Well, congratulations on CMC. Nothing needs to be said about him. Dude's the next, we're going to be talking about him our whole lives as like one of those, Tomlinson type players who is just a cheat code in fantasy. Unreal. Could have had 5 touchdowns if Purdy didn't sneak that one in. He had enough, though. Kamara, PPR machine, apparently, though. First game back, he sees, 14 targets, catches 13 of them for a whopping 33 yards. Woo! And, 11 rushes, 51 yards, 4.64 carry. Not that great, but those receptions are king in PPR. He goes into New England, just got destroyed by Dallas, but we all know New England. Belichick wants to take their best guy out, so he's either going to be targeting Kamara or Olave or both. The Saints looked like a mess last week. Pierce looks a lot better. He's going into Atlanta with Stroud. They're getting the O-line back this week, I read. I think that O-line is finally going to get healthy. I think Pierce is going to catch some fire. He's another guy I'd probably buy low on if that's still possible. I brought him up all season on this show. I love Pierce, and I think the way Stroud's playing, they're saying a few weeks ago they were putting this guy in the dirt, man. They were writing him off as a bust. I'm like, it's too early for that. If this offense clicks, Pierce is going to get his scores, but I just can't. The 14 targets for 13 receptions in PPR. I think I'm going CMC Alvin Kamara. I think Pierce could also have a great week with the O-line getting right and that team exploding the way it is. But I just you don't want to chase last week, but 14 targets in his first game back you got to play him after that in PPR, and you have CMC. It's not going to hurt you too much if he only gets you 9 or 10 points, but I think it's a great problem to have, Juice, but Kamara is my guy for this week. Sinker, who are you taking out of these two?
Yeah, I like Kamara, man. Volume's king, especially in a full PPR league, man. If he's getting those targets in his first game back, obviously it's going to probably change a little bit. Olave had a dud game last game, and I don't think that's going to continue on all season, but Kamara's going to catch balls out of the backfield like he has been in the past. So I like in a full PPR, just sticking with him because he's getting the pass catching opportunities. I agree with you, Sancho. I think Pierce is a buy low if you can get him. any running back tied to a good offense, which I think the Texans, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I think they will, continue to have a good offense moving forward. So Kamara for me, but speaking on Pierce, try to buy low if you can.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have. Like, God forbid one of them goes down, and like you're not hurt that bad. Some people lose a back like that and their season's over. So you have a nice 3-piece there. George, you with us on AK or?
Yeah, just that receiving upside is just too much in PPR to really turn the other way and go to Pierce. You'd have to get some touchdowns, which haven't exactly been his forte. So I'd give me Kamara pretty easily.
All
Although
right.
I'm curious who you're flexing over Pierce because I like him too.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, might have a good flex. Might have a great flex if he has to bench Pierce. But we all said Alvin Kamara, so we could pencil in Damian Pierce for a 3-touchdown, 100-yard game. Let's get to our last question. We'll wrap this up. We're a little bit over. Just want to, show love, like as always, to everyone who tunes in with us, calls in, chats in. You keep us going, even when our teams lose, and we don't want to do it, but we want to help you guys win. We helped some people win chips last year. Hopefully, we can help some people win chips this year. But a big return in Detroit this week from Mr. Jameson Williams. High prospect, high draft capital, a lot of red flags to start his NFL career, either, injuries or gambling and whatnot. And this goes back to Brandon typed this question in before. So if you're still watching, Brandon, I didn't forget about you. We saved the best for last. I'm a Jameson Williams truther, but what can we expect from him in his first game back? How about we do first game back and rest of the season? Sinker, kick this one off before the Marriott shuts you down.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Jameson Williams as well as a player. I naturally just want to say, I think be careful with his first game back because he's missed, the first couple weeks, but he was there all of training camp. So they did practice with him and he did have game situations with him, scrimmage type stuff. So I don't know, man. I think if you've been holding him and there is a lot of bye week stuff going on, I think you can plug him in and see what you get from him. But I don't know. I naturally just want to say give it a week, but I did that with Christian Watson and he scored a touchdown. So kind of biting my tongue on that one. But yeah, rest of the season, I really like the opportunity he's moving into. I think the Lions offense is pretty good. I think Jared Goff has the opportunity to, really push the ball downfield. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I did see an interesting stat on X, is what they call it now, but Gibbs has actually been better out of the backfield in 3 wide receiver sets. So maybe there might be an opportunity.
Come on, J-Mo.
So maybe there might be an opportunity, but I don't know. It was just interesting. Someone was just talking about Williams coming back, and then obviously, the crazies on X dug some stats up, and Gibbs has been better with 3 wide receivers on the field. So
yeah, I'm definitely skeptical about us plugging him in his first game back. I want to kind of see it to believe it. But there is a dynasty league I'm in where I have some injuries and some bye weeks, and I'm forced to play Jameson Williams this week. So I'll be glued in. Jameson Williams and Gibbs, please.
Yeah.
Monty, have a seat. Get a pina colada. Chill out. You're playing the Panthers, man. It's an easy dub for you. Let the young guys get some burn. Jameson Williams, though, rest of the season. You drafted him. You held him. You thought it was going to be 6 games. It's only 4. Surprise. That's way better value than you thought it would be. He comes into a great offense who's winning games. They have Amon-Ra as the 1, so he's not going to get that top-tier coverage. I think there's definitely a range of outcomes where this guy can eat and be a monster for you in the second half. But, just like Gibbs, we got to see how they use him. We got to see his snap percentage. We got to see his targets. And I expect him to obviously grow over time. But, first game back, unless you're desperate like me in that dynasty league, I think I'd rather put him on the bench. But the crazy ones who want to play him, we risk it for the biscuit. So if you do end up playing him, I'll be rooting for him too, and we'll celebrate in spirit. But George, it's been great having you. Let's wrap this up. How you feeling about J-Mo and his first game back, and how you feeling about him the rest of the way?
I'm not playing him first game back. He had one catch last year, so coming
Yeah.
back from a hamstring injury, I can't play him this week.
Was it like a 50-yard catch or something?
That's 75.
Yeah, monster. Like one catch, 75. Is that like the called back touchdown? That wasn't even like near him.
I'm not sure.
I'm
But
looking right now. 2000.
This guy's the kind of the guy that I fade, honestly. One catch, 41 yards, and a touch. I normally in 6 games though, 9 targets, 1 catch. I don't like that. I don't like that he missed those 4 games. That he did something so boneheaded as to gamble in the facility. I just that's like a player whose head isn't on right. It's just not the kind of guy.
He wasn't
that
even
normally
betting on the
targets.
NFL though.
I know, but
I don't
rules
know.
are rules, man.
It's in the
You're a
contract.
millionaire.
Yeah, it's in your contract.
He was betting on another sport wasn't it on like the plane and the runway, and that's considered on the facility. It was crazy.
No,
man.
it was. I think he was at the actual practice facility, which it like specifically says is a red flag. But the NFL, we're not going to talk too much about it, but they went in and changed all their betting rules. But that's why J-Mo's back. But go on, George.
But like, so all of that, like my process says fade this guy. I just process aside, this guy seems to break my process. I don't know what it is about him. I just think he's electric. 1 catch, 41 yards. Any catch can go to the house. Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond.
Yeah.
They've been relevant. Jameson Williams is better than they could ever dream of being. So I feel like there's an upside there that my process doesn't account for. So he's just someone I just love for some reason, and it doesn't make sense. My process says to fade him, but my heart says go with Jameson Williams. So take from that what you want.
Good luck if you decide to play him like the sicko you are, like I have to do. Rasta chiming in again. Say J-Mo's going to give Detroit some field stretching, maybe 4 targets a game, and should open up the field for St. Brown, Laporta underneath. And those 4 targets could lead to some boom weeks. I mean, he's the type of player that can get 2, he could have 2 catches for 100 yards and 2 scores. Like, I think he's definitely a big play kind of guy. We saw that long touchdown call back last year. Wasn't nearly even near the play. Wasn't even his fault. But we know what he's capable of. He would have got drafted even higher, I feel, if it wasn't for the big injury out of Bama. Greg chiming in. Said, J-Mo, my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. I don't know if I can sing R. Kelly on the stream. But that's how we feel about Jameson Williams, and that's another week of Fantasy Fanline, and it's been a great week, as it always is. George, we appreciate you coming back. You already talked about your leagues, but want to tell the people like how you got into fantasy, how long you've been playing, why you're nerdy enough to hop on with us and talk fantasy football for an hour and 15 minutes on a Tuesday night. Go ahead.
I think it's been like 7 or 8 years, my longest league when I got into Dynasty. Honestly, you just used to play a lot of Madden, a lot of 2K, where I would do the franchise, or now it's called the league. So I figured, why not try this in real life? I already love redraft football, so and then I went down the rabbit hole. I was like, I kind of want some more players. I expanded to 7 redraft leagues, I think was my peak. Then I added some dynasties, and then this last year I boomed up to 25. This was planned to become a portfolio player. So I tiered it 25 and then went up to the 84 this year. And it's been good. I have some processes in place, the way I do things I do something on Tuesday nights. During the games, I'm always looking at things as well. And then Thursdays, I go through my lineups. And then again on Sundays, right before the 1 o'clock games. And then with the 4 o'clock outs, my lineups are already set so that my earlier guys are in the wide receiver or running back spot. And my 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock games are in the flexes. So I have flexibility there if anyone's out late. That's definitely a big advice to give people. Make sure that your later game guys are in your flexes. to keep you flexible. But
For sure.
yeah,
Don't
I
flex
just,
any Thursday night players. That's like
I
one of
just
the
love
golden
football.
rules.
Yeah, it's made it better for me.
Yeah.
Portfolio's not for everyone, so I don't recommend it to a lot of people unless you really are. I have a process and a way of doing things because if you just go for all the guys you love in a portfolio, you can waste a lot of money any given year. So you got to have a process and have to tame yourself. Is my biggest advice there.
That's great stuff from the Dynasty Guru, George Cruz, man. Thanks again for hopping on. We will see you again later in the year, but we are over time. So for the sick Dynasty madman, George Cruz, for Sinker at the Houston
Birds.
Marriott Hotel, go Giants, loyal to the end. Don't want to talk about it. We are Fantasy Fanline. We will see you next week. Peace.
Peace.